Counter-Narrative News brings you daily news today on Wednesday, the 1st of March 2023. Mexican President Obrador has called his counterpart in Peru and Lima, President Boluarte, a quote-unquote puppet of the oligarchs. Obrador said that Boluarte wants to turn Peru into a looting hub for international capital, and in that he's absolutely correct, considering that Boluarte ousted the former leftist President Castillo and on the same day became president herself, and then has been responding to mass protests by the poor in Peru by lethal means by her security services. However, at the same time, although Mexican President Obrador represents the leftist trend in terms of state administrations throughout the region, he still has just today concluded a deal with the richest capitalist colonial man in the world, and a racist at that, Elon Musk, for a new Tesla plant in Mexico. Also, Mexico is still riven with problems of death squads and cartels, with the Mexican army still conducting operations killing civilians in its avowed attempt to contain and control the cartel problem. And also, Obrador collaborates with the US empire to the north around a very oppressive regime against migrant flows through Mexico, reaching the Mexican-US border. So there's still deep problematics and dynamics and contradictions at play there. Going over to the British-occupied six counties of Ireland, in the northern part of the island of Ireland, the Loyalist death squad group, the UVF, connected to the Progressive Unionist Party, the PUP, has said that in response to the New Deal around the Brexit and Northern Ireland Protocol problems for the British state, that they will put the whole of Northern Ireland on fire as a protest. The UVF and other similar loyalist death squads have been basically created and kept alive by the British security state as a primary means to push back on the over 8 centuries of Irish people struggling to free their entire country from English colonialism. The different ways in which the British state deals, on the one hand, with armed groups struggling for Irish freedom, and then armed groups serving British colonial interests in the occupied six counties, has even been commented on by the Liberal and middle-class oriented Social Democratic Alliance Party, who are arguing that this manner in which the British state basically looks the other way and allows the loyalist white supremacist death squads to operate has to come to an end. In relation to that as well, when it comes to the far-right movement or fascist movements in Britain, etc., the biggest one obviously is on the doorstep of Britain and the occupied six counties, but also the Orange Order, which has a major base of operations in Scotland. So for any semblance of an anti-fascist struggle, it has to take primarily this into account as its primary challenges. And finally, in recent days, schoolchildren across secondary schools in England, particularly in the north and in the southwest, have been conducting some protests against school administrations, barring them from using toilets and other repressive measures against these school children. This has led to school protests and some direct actions by hundreds, perhaps thousands of school children organizing themselves, self-organizing themselves, that is, and even riot police have been called into some schools. Now, these schools are run by, they are so-called academies, basically private capitalist interest encroaching upon a space that they should have no interference in whatsoever, that is schools and education of children. But now for decades there's been creeping privatization in schools, and now with these academies, what often happens with these academies is very right-wing oriented administrations who adopt and impose very right-wing pedagogical frameworks and behavior management and school children management systems. They impose this upon children, and inevitably children rebel anyway. One of the means to do that is requesting toilet breaks as a form of break from the repressive pressure that they're put under increasingly through the education system. Schools in Britain are are just a total mess, and they're becoming even more toxic and falling apart as a result of privatization and cuts, etc. Too many children in a classroom, too many unmet behavioral and special education needs issues there, along with demoralization of teaching staff and support staff and other staff, the deregulation of the labour market in terms of staffing in schools, whereby ground staff, catering staff, support staff and others in the quote-unquote lower part of the hierarchy are often on low pay in agencies with no sick and holiday and pensions adequate for them. Is the sum total of all of this is a total failure for what should be the most precious commodity, as it were. Of course, they're not commodities, they're human beings, but the most important human resource for our society, which is raising our children in the best and most positive and liberating way possible. That was Counter Narrative News. Many thanks to all those who support us, especially by sharing our videos and liking and commenting and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Please continue to encourage your contacts and friends to do likewise. We wish you a fantastic day.